Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of legal research.
Yeah, it's really the engine behind, every legal argument, every court decision.
Exactly. Think of it as figuring out how to find the official rulebook for society. Our mission today is, well, to give you a clear grasp of this often complex area.
And we're using legal research, second edition, from QuickStudy Law as our guide, sort of our roadmap.
Right, our roadmap. We want to unpack the different kinds of legal rules, the authorities, and the methods used to actually find them, kind of a shortcut to understanding the foundations.
That's right, because at its core, legal research is all about locating authority,
Yeah.
finding those specific laws, those precedents that courts have to use when they make judgments.
It's not just about finding random information then.
No, it's about pinpointing what legally counts, what has actual weight.
Okay, let's get into it. Our roadmap starts with this big division, primary and secondary authority. What's the main difference there?
Okay, so primary authority is the law.
Go ahead.
Straight up. It's the direct pronouncements coming from a branch of government. Think of it as the official source code.
Official source code, I like that. And that breaks down into the three branches we all learned about: judicial, legislative, executive. Let's start with the courts, the judicial branch. What primary authority do they generate?
Well, the courts interpret laws, the ones passed by the legislature, and the Constitution, of course. But crucially, they also make law through their decisions. We call that common law.
Common law. And that's where precedent comes in.
Exactly. This idea of binding precedent or stare decisis is central. It basically means let the decision stand.
So, like, if a court decided something one way before, future courts should stick to that.
Pretty much, it promotes predictability, fairness, but it's not totally rigid. Courts can distinguish a new case if the facts are, different enough.
Ah, so they can say, this situation isn't quite the same as that old one.
Right. And there's a hierarchy. Higher courts bind the lower courts within their specific geographical area, their jurisdiction.
So a state Supreme Court tells the lower state courts what the rule is.
Yep, same in the federal system. A Circuit Court of Appeals decision binds the district courts within that circuit, and of course the U.S. Supreme Court.
Hmm.
Well, its interpretation of federal law is the final word for everyone.
It's like a pyramid structure.
Kind of, yeah. But importantly, a court in, say, California doesn't usually bind a court in New York.
Right, different jurisdictions.
Generally, state courts stick to their state, federal circuits stick to their circuit, and courts at the same level, like two different federal district courts. They don't bind each other. Persuasive, maybe, but not binding.
Okay, got it. So that's judicial authority decisions, creating common law and interpreting things. What about the legislative branch? Congress, state legislatures.
They create statutes. That's their main job in making primary authority. A potential federal law starts as a bill, with an S or H number.
Senate or House, right.
Right. If it passes both houses and gets signed by the president, it becomes law. First, it's published as a slip law, just the individual act. Then these are collected chronologically into what are called session laws.
Right.
For federal laws, that's the United States statutes at large.
Statutes at large. Sounds impressive.
It is. But for actually using the law, they get organized by subject matter. That's the code. The federal code is the United States Code, the USC.
Ah, so the USC is where you look to find the current text of a federal law on, say, environmental protection.
Exactly. Organized by topic makes it much easier to find what you need.
Makes sense. And the third branch, executive or administrative, agencies and the like.
They create rules and regulations. These are designed to implement the statutes passed by the legislature, sort of the nitty-gritty details.
The how-to guide for the law.
That's a good way to put it. These rules usually appear first in the Federal Register that comes out daily.
Daily, wow.
Yep. Then, like statutes, they get organized by subject into the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR. It's got 50 titles covering different areas.
CFR.
And don't forget executive orders. The president or state governor can issue these, and they also carry the force of law within their scope.
Okay, so primary authority, court decisions, statutes, regulations, executive orders, all the official stuff. What's the secondary authority then?
Secondary authority is, well, basically everything else written about the law. Think legal encyclopedias, law review articles, treatises.
Treatises, like big books on one topic.
Exactly. Deep dives into specific areas. Also things like attorney general opinions, their analyses, commentaries, summaries.
So it's not the law itself, but it helps you understand it or find it.
Precisely. It's persuasive, A court isn't required to follow it, but it can be very influential. Lawyers use it to build arguments, maybe even argue for changing the primary law. It points you towards the primary stuff, too.
And then our guide mentions research tools separately. What's the deal there?
Right. Tools are things like indexes, databases, Westlaw, Lexis, even just a simple table of contents. They help you find primary and secondary authority.
But you wouldn't cite the index itself in a legal brief?
No, definitely not. You cite the authority the tool led you to. The tool isn't the law.
Okay, that clarifies the landscape. Primary, secondary, tools. Now, if you're facing a legal question, where do you actually start the research process? Do you just dive into the U.S. code?
You could, but often it's smarter to start with secondary sources, especially if you're new to an area.
Like reading an encyclopedia article first.
Exactly. Get the overview, understand the key concepts, find leads to the major cases or statutes. Then you can dig into the primary authority more effectively. Or, if you already know a key case or statute, you can start there and use tools to find related authorities.
And the guide really emphasizes citations. Why the big focus?
Oh, citations are crucial. They're the standardized way of telling everyone exactly where you found your information. Think of it like footnotes, but for law.
So anyone can check your work, find the source themselves?
Precisely. Yeah. It ensures transparency and accuracy. There are very specific rules for how to format them. The Blue Book is the famous one, and the LWD manual is another. Get the citation wrong, and it can undermine your credibility.
Like a secret code for lawyers?
Kind of, yeah. Ensures everyone's speaking the same language when it comes to sources.
Okay. We touched on binding versus persuasive, just to nail it down. Primary sources can be binding, right?
Yes. Primary sources are the only ones that can be mandatory or binding. But whether they are binding depends on the jurisdiction and the specific situation.
So what makes a primary source binding?
Okay, two main things. First, a statute from the correct legislature, like a federal statute for a federal issue, or a state statute for a state issue in that state. That's mandatory. Second, a decision from a higher court within the same jurisdiction. That's mandatory judicial authority under stare decisis.
Unless the court distinguishes the case, like we talked about.
Exactly, or rarely overturns the precedent.
Yeah.
But generally, you follow the higher court in your chain of command. Secondary sources. Always just persuasive, helpful, maybe influential, but never mandatory.
Got it. Now, the guide shifts gears into computer-assisted legal research, or CALR. Obviously, computers changed everything here.
Oh, absolutely. Revolutionized it. The big players are the subscription services. Westlaw, Bloomberg Law, LexisNexis.
Right. What makes them so powerful?
They're just vast digital libraries. Huge collections of case law, statutes, regulations, secondary sources, news, all searchable, all linked together.
And they have those special tools, KeyCite, BCite, Shepard's. What's their magic?
Ah, the citators.
Yeah.
They're incredibly important. Think of them as validity checkers.
Validity checkers.
Yeah. You find a case. How do you know if it's still good law? Maybe it got overturned last year. The citator tells you that.
Okay.
It tracks the entire history of a case, subsequent appeals, whether other courts have criticized it or followed it. It uses flags or signals, green for good, yellow for caution, red for bad law.
So you don't accidentally rely on a case that's been reversed.
Exactly. Same for statutes. It tells you if they've been amended or repealed.
Yeah.
KeyCite is Westlaw's, BCite is Bloomberg's, Shepard's is on Lexis, and sometimes Westlaw too. Using these is absolutely essential.
Sounds indispensable. Are there other big online resources mentioned?
Yeah, the guide also points to Hein Online. Fantastic for historical documents, old law reviews, government stuff going way back, and dialogue for periodicals and government pubs too.
So lots of specialized tools out there. But what about, the free internet if you don't have a pricey subscription?
There's a ton of good stuff available for free. You just have to know where to look and be a bit more careful.
Okay, like what? If you had to pick one top free resource.
For general access, the Legal Information Institute, LII, at Cornell Law School, law.cornell.edu, is fantastic. Really well organized, lots of Supreme Court cases, the U.S. Code, state resources. It's very reliable.
Cornell, LII. Good tip. What else?
Well, there's Fastcase. They have a public library of law, fastcase.com. Justy.com has a huge collection, especially strong on Supreme Court stuff. And for official government documents, GovInfo, that's govinfo.gov. It's run by the Government Publishing Office, GPO. It's the official source for things like the Federal Register, the CFR, the U.S. Code. Super valuable. It's replacing the older FTC system.
GovInfo. Okay, so official government publications are free online.
Many of them are, yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge improvement in access to information.
That's great. The guide lists even more, like Oyez for Supreme Court audio.
Yeah, oyez.org is amazing. You can listen to oral arguments. Google Scholar has a case law section. Google Patents for patents. The Library of Congress has a great guide to online law. There are even free legal dictionaries online, like FindLaws or Law.coms.
Wow, so there really are options beyond the big subscriptions.
Definitely. The main drawback is sometimes organization, maybe not having those sophisticated citator tools integrated.
Yeah.
And you have to be more critical about the source's reliability compared to, say, Westlaw or Lexis.
Makes sense. You get what you pay for, to some extent, but free can still be very useful. Okay, let's focus on finding case law. How does a court decision even get published?
It's a process. First, the court issues it as a slip opinion, just the raw decision.
Okay.
Then, these get collected, often weekly or monthly, into pamphlets called advance sheets. Think of them as temporary bound volumes.
Right.
Eventually, these advance sheets are compiled into the final, permanent bound volumes you see in law libraries. These bound volumes usually have helpful finding aids, like tables of cases reported, indexes by topic.
And now, of course, they appear online almost instantly, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Electronic publication is often the fastest way to see a new decision.
The guide mentions official versus unofficial reporters. What's that about?
Okay. Official reporters are published by or under the authority of the court itself. The prime example is the United States reports, U.S. for the Supreme Court.
Right.
Unofficial reporters are published by commercial companies, most notably West Publishing, now part of Thomson Reuters. They publish the Supreme Court Reporter, SC, and the Lawyer's Edition, LAD. For lower federal courts, West publishes the Federal Reporter, FF2D, F3D, for the Courts of Appeals.
F3D, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And the Federal Supplement, F's a page, for district courts. For state courts, West has its national reporter system divided into regions Atlantic, Pacific, Northeastern, etc.
So, like, the Pacific Reporter, P3, covers California, Oregon.
Right. These unofficial reporters often come out faster and include helpful editorial additions like summaries and headnotes, which is why lawyers use them all the time, even if there's an official version.
So the citation tells you which book and page to look at. But what if you don't have a citation, you just have an issue, like negligence involving red lights?
Good question. That's where digests come in. West created a comprehensive digest system. Think of it like a massive subject index to all the points of law decided in cases.
An index for cases.
Yeah. West breaks down the law into hundreds of topics like automobiles or negligence, and then thousands of subpoints called key numbers. You find the relevant topic and key number for your issue, and the digest lists summaries of cases that have discussed that specific point.
So you could look up automobiles and then find a key number for running a red light.
Precisely. You can also use a table of cases, if you know the name of one party, or a defendant-plaintiff table. There are even indexes for cases known by popular names, like Miranda v. Arizona. And there's a resource called Words and Phrases that lists cases defining specific legal terms.
Lots of ways to find that needle in the haystack.
It takes practice, but yeah, the tools are there.
Okay, let's switch back to those persuasive secondary sources. Our guide lists a bunch. What are some highlights?
Well, Attorney General opinions can be useful for interpreting state law, though they aren't binding on courts. Restatements of the law are really interesting.
What are those?
They're published by the American Law Institute, ALI, a group of judges, academics, and lawyers. They try to synthesize and, well, restate the common law in major areas like contracts, torts, property. They're highly respected and often cited by courts. Very persuasive.
So like a high-level summary of judge-made law?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But with detailed commentary and illustrations. Then you have legal periodicals, law reviews from law schools, bar journals. These offer deep analysis of specific issues, often cutting-edge stuff.
Good for seeing where the law might be heading.
Definitely. Treatises, we mentioned those scholarly books on narrow topics. Legal encyclopedias like Corpus Juris Secundum, CJS, and American Jurisprudence Second and Your Second give broad overviews of almost every legal topic. Good starting points.
Like a legal Wikipedia, but more authoritative.
Sort of, yeah. And don't forget American Law Reports, ALR.
ALR.
ALR publishes very detailed articles called annotations that collect and summarize cases from all over the country on specific narrow legal questions. Extremely useful if you find an annotation on your exact issue.
Wow. And the guide also mentions practical stuff like form books, practice manuals.
Right, things lawyers use day to day. Books with sample legal documents, forms, guides to court procedures, materials from continuing legal education CLE programs, even study aids like horn books and outlines fall under secondary sources.
It's a huge category.
It really is. Anything that comments on, explains, or helped you find the primary law.
Now, we touched on this with the citators, but the guide hammers it home. Updating is critical. You cannot skip this step, right?
Absolutely non-negotiable. Law changes. Courts overturn prior decisions. Legislatures amend statutes. Relying on outdated law is malpractice, plain and simple.
So using Shepard's key cite or B cite isn't optional.
Not if you want to be accurate and responsible. You must check if your case is still good law, if your statute is still current. These electronic tools make it relatively easy compared to the old days of print supplements, but you still have to do it diligently for every single authority you plan to rely on.
Okay, message received. Always update. Finally, the guide gives some general tips for internet research, which is so common now. What are the big takeaways?
Be critical. Just because it's online doesn't make it accurate or authoritative. Ask yourself, who runs this website? Is it a government agency, a law school, a reputable organization, or just some random blog?
Check the source.
Always. Look for credentials, check the About Us page. Is the information current? When was it last updated? Try to verify key information from multiple reliable sources if possible.
Good advice for any internet use, really.
True. And the guide warns about link rot websites disappearing, links breaking. It even suggests tools like the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine or the Cyber Cemetery to find old government pages. Sometimes you have to be a digital archaeologist.
Huh. A digital archaeologist. I like that. So evaluating the source, checking for updates, verifying info, key skills for online legal research.
Absolutely critical.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. We've covered the different types of legal authority, primary, secondary, the tools to find them. We've talked about the branches of government, stare decisis, statutes, regulations.
The importance of citations, the power of online databases and citators like Shepard's and KeyCite, finding cases with and without citations, using secondary sources effectively, and the crucial need to always update your research.
It really feels like we've unpacked the core of how legal research works, using that QuickStudy guide as our foundation. Understanding this seems vital, not just for lawyers, but for anyone interested in how our laws are found, interpreted, and applied.
It really is foundational, and it leads to a final thought. With this explosion of accessible legal information online, both free and paid, what are the new challenges? How do we ensure people are using this information accurately, ethically? What's our responsibility now that so much is out there?
That's a great question to ponder. A lot of power, but also a lot of responsibility. Definitely something for our listeners to think about. Thanks so much for walking us through this.
My pleasure. It's a crucial topic.